We have all ages here. You could start a school. Okay.
The mic is not.
I turned the button on. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, we still have a lot of age range over here. How old are you? 10. Oh, you're a big boy. You're going to be able to hear adult talk and be very satisfied, right? Okay. That was pretty sure. If you get restless, you know what to do, right? Okay. How close in age are you 5? You look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You range, what's your age? You 2? You're 12 and 11. 15. 13. 14. Okay. Well, you're the youngest one in the room. But you look really attentive, so I'm sure we're going to have a good time together. The topic I thought would be nice to discuss is kind of like Bhagavad Gita 101. And it's they're different, just because I'm getting to know you, so I'm going to ask a few questions so I can get to understand all of you better. Then I can relate better. If you were asked, what's the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita? Raise your hand, don't blurt it out. What's that verse that's expressing the essence of Bhagavad Gita? If you have an idea, raise your hand first. Okay, besides our brahmacharis here. Essence of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, go ahead.
You can, do your duties, do your karma.
Yeah.
Don't
be attached to the results. Yes. So this verse is karma nevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Very common. Ma pala. You're not entitled to the fruits of your work. You are entitled to perform your prescribed duty. Karmana evadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. And you know the Sanskrit for your verse? Anybody in the room know the Sanskrit for that verse? Yat karoshi yadasnasi yat jahosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat korashramadharpanam. Is that the verse that you're thinking? Okay. I thought so. So those two verses are verses that teach, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is teaching karma yoga. Yad karoshi yadasnasi. So whatever you do, etc., etc. Madarpanam. You worship me with that. By that, you worship me. Everything, and similar here. Let me go through this. I'm just getting acquainted with the residents, local residents here. That's karma yoga. You're entitled to do your prescribed duty, and you're not entitled to the fruits. If you're not entitled to the fruits, what are you supposed to do with those fruits? He'll say, madarpanam. You offer that to the Supreme. Let's do it the other way. If supposing you don't live your life that way, this is, practical Bhagavad Gita 101. If you don't live your life that way, what happens? You're bound to the fruits of your work. Because, let's go back. Back to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, you're not the body. If you're not the body, but you have a body, then you can't stop work. You can't stop work. Karma sannyas. You can't stop work because there's a spirit soul inside the body. The body's animated by that spirit soul. It's going to do something. You're going to do some work. And from that work, there's going to be some fruits of that work. And if you don't offer the fruits of your work to the Supreme, you're going to do your work because you want something. You do something to get something, called fruitive work. So you're bound to the results of your work. And if it's good work, you're bound to the results of your work. If it's bad work, you're bound to the results. If it's a mix, you're bound to the results. And that bound to the results means birth and death. Although we're not the body, we have one. And so the body's going to do some work to know what to do. Karma yoga. Karma yoga, the benefit, the transcendental benefit, the transcendental benefit of karma yoga is liberation, in the sense that if you're identifying yourself, A and B, if you're identifying yourself with the soul and not the body, while at the same time you recognize the body is going to do some work, so I don't want to be attached to the fruits of the work because I don't want birth and death, it's a pathway towards liberation. No more birth and death because there's no more bondage to the fruits of work. And many people think that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So we had this discussion before I got here. I thought we would speak a little about what's the difference. Is there a difference? And if there is a difference, what's the difference? What's the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga, if any? Are they the same? Or is there an overlap? Are they entirely different? What's bhakti yoga vis-a-vis or in relation to karma yoga? How do we identify what they are, or how are they different?
Yoga is purely for awakening or pure love with Sri Sri Radha Krishna.
Okay.
Karma yoga can go, it's like a double-edged sword. You get stuck in the cycle of karma, like good, bad karma, and get stuck in the cycle of
No, that's not karma yoga. Karma yoga, you're not stuck in the cycle because you're offering the results. Okay. It's mixed with bhakti. So what does that mean? It's mixed with bhakti. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to establish some relationship with all of you. A rapport, an understanding of who you are, and our topic is Bhagavad Gita. We saved a spot for you. Look at this, right next to our host. It's a special spot. It's got your name on it. The karma yoga is becoming or acting in such a way that we offer the results of our work, of everything, not just your occupational work, your work, everything you do. You're working in the kitchen or doing your homework or doing, whatever you do. Yad karosi, yad asnasi, whatever you do. Your life is, the fruits of what you do is offered to Krishna. So, how is that different? You say offer your heart. So what does that mean? Offer your heart. Let's hear some other. I want to hear I can say, but I want to have you say. Is there a difference? Yes, there's a difference. What's the difference? Yes. There's what? Very good. Very good. Let's say it a different way. Same thing differently. When I'm engaged in karma yoga, I'm interested in me. I want no bondage to the fruits of my work. And so I'm offering the fruits of my work to the Supreme, but I'm at the center. And it's liberationism or not being caught up in bondage. And bhakti is, I'm not at the center. Krishna is at the center. So I'll just restate something that you said, but it's just worded differently. Karma yoga is a subset. Within bhakti yoga, karma yoga is already there. If you have $1 million, you have $10. It's the $10 solution. And then there's the $1 million solution. The topmost rung of the yoga ladder is bhakti. You want me to speak closely to the microphone? Yes? I'll say it again. Karma yoga is a subset. Built within karma yoga is the understanding that my activity, the result of my activity goes to the Supreme, but take it back a step is everything is for Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. It's not a liberationist freedom from bondage idea. It's a devotion to Krishna idea. Let's take another verse from Bhagavad Gita. 1866. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Most of you know what that verse is. Let's say it together. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma suchaha. There's the same ma, but this is ma suchaha. The other one was ma, you're not entitled to the pala. This is ma sucha, don't worry. Literally, I just heard a recorded lecture this morning. Prabhupada was saying the sarva dharmam parityaja, he rephrased it and said, all the principles of dharma that I've taught you so far, parityaja, discard them. Now, discard them doesn't mean trash them. It means they're subordinate to a higher principle. What's that higher principle? Mam ekam sharanam. Mam ekam sharanam. You know the meaning of sharanam? Sharanam means surrender. You remember that. Sharanam means surrender. And surrender means you engage in practical activity. So another answer to the question I first asked, a verse that summarizes the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita is that one, 1866. It's the concluding instruction of Bhagavad Gita, and it's the essence of Bhagavad Gita. All of the other things that Krishna has taught previously, they're subordinate to. Just like, up here there's a fan in the ceiling. And the fan is helpful, and etc., because it's suspended by something up to the ceiling. Supposing that thing up to the ceiling wasn't there. Supposing you have another example is a chandelier. I like the chandelier example. Chandelier is like crystal. It's expensive, and it's attractive. And when there's light that passes through the crystal, not just glass, but crystal, then it's soft, diffused light. It's very nice, generally very expensive. Interesting little boy. He was sitting here looking like a king, sitting there on the, looking around at his kingdom. And then playing. He's a nice boy. So with a chandelier, it's diffused light, it's soft, nice. But supposing there isn't the thing that hangs the chandelier from the ceiling, it's useless. Just a pile of stuff on the floor. But when it's suspended by that piece that goes into the ceiling, then it's very useful and very attractive. Similarly, Mame Kam Sharanam is that which suspends all the other teachings that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. The essence of Bhagavad Gita is that, and there's parts that on their own, they need support. They're insufficient on their own. Karma Yoga minus Bhakti is insufficient. Jnana Yoga minus Bhakti is insufficient. In fact, let's do another checking you guys out question. There are two main verses. One of them is from Rupa Goswami. Two main verses that give a definition of bhakti. I see some wheels turning. Can anyone give me one of those verses in Sanskrit besides our temple devotees here? Anya Abhilash. Say it slow and like voice, project. You've heard it before? You've heard it before? You've heard it. Let's go through it again. So the last line is Bhaktir Uttama. Uttama means topmost. Bhakti is topmost. Bhakti is pure. So Bhaktir Uttama. That's where we're going, is pure devotional service. Pure devotional service, the beginning part is Anya Abhilas Shunya. Shunya means zero, nothing. Anya means other. Abhilas means desire. Anya Abhilas Shunya. Which ones? Jnana Karma. Anavritam. We discussed this verse in the Bhagavatam class this morning. It's eliminated. We don't give it attention. We don't strive separately for fruitive work, or we don't strive separately for cultivation of knowledge. There's knowledge and there's work, but we don't strive separately for becoming enjoyers of fruitive work or the benefits that come from cultivation of knowledge. That's the first half. That's what bhakti isn't. Now, what bhakti is very important. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. So what it is, here's what bhakti is. The distinction between bhakti and karma yoga is, I'll keep it simple, the cultivation of activities that are pleasing to Krishna. Remember what the word sharana means? What does it mean? Surrender. Surrender, right? So there's 6 limbs of surrender. And the first 2 of those 6 are accepting things favorable and rejecting things unfavorable for bhakti. So that's 2 out of 6 that make up what surrender is. So Krishna is saying, surrender unto me, and accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable. Look, the first half of that definition of bhakti is rejecting things unfavorable. And then there's accepting things favorable. That's surrender. And a fully surrendered person is squeaky clean. There isn't something over there in my consciousness where I'm still holding on to, trying to become an enjoyer of my fruitive activities. At least pure bhakti is you let go of that. You still work, but you have a different spirit or consciousness behind working. What's that different consciousness? Krishna is to be pleased. That's all. And accept those things that are favorable for pleasing Krishna, because I'm exercising my bhakti muscle. I'm doing that which is pleasing to Krishna. I'm cultivating. I'm doing sadhana towards that which is pleasing to Krishna, and rejecting things that are not pleasing to Krishna. That's what bhakti is. The essence of bhakti is that. The essence of bhakti is in that little short phrase. It's a Rupa Goswami verse. Here's another one. And then I'm going to go to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the other one starts Sarva Upadi. Who know anyone? Raise your hand if you know that verse. Sarva Upadi. Someone of our families here. How about our youngsters? Sarva Upadi, you know that one? No? You want to learn it? Sure. Okay. That was a quick answer. You know what Upadi means? Upadi. You've heard of it, word? Upadi is designation. Here's an example. I'm wearing a saffron cloth, and therefore that designates me, at least externally, as a sannyasi or a brahmachari. It's a renounced person. But that's not who I am. Over here, he's wearing white. So that means he's grahastha. But that's not who he is. There's a time when he wasn't grahastha, and then he's grahastha, and then he's something else, and then he's something else. Or you're Indian and I'm American. That's upadi, not who we are. Like, it's a designation. That's what upadi is. So sarva means all. Sarva upadi, venir muktam. Mukti, liberated from. Being freed from all designations, like, woman, man, whatever's anything other than what the soul itself is, that's an upadi. It's a designation. It's a covering of who we really are. Tat paratvena nirmalam. So it starts sarva upadi venir muktam. Tat, it's a pronoun. That tat paratvena nirmalam. Nir means without. Mala means contamination. So again, squeaky clean. Tat sarva upadi venir muktam. Tat paratvena nirmalam. Rishikesha. You've heard the word Rishikesha? It's one of the names of Krishna, Rishikesha. Rishikesha means the master of the Rishikas. He's the Isha, master of the Ishas, Rishis, the senses, the master of the senses. Rishikesha. So Rishikena, that's our senses, are used in the service of the master of the senses. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. It's pretty simple. The Sanskrit is pretty simple. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I just listen to Prabhupada a lot. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. Use my senses in the service of the master of the senses. So that's the definition of bhakti. Bhaktir, uchate, it is said. Bhakti, it is said, is using the senses in the service of the master of the senses, freed from any sense of designation. Sarva upadi vinir muktam. That's bhakti. That's a definition. It's Narada Pancharatra. definition of bhakti. It's those two are definitions. So the question I was asking, is there a difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga? Yes. One is I'm offering the fruits to the Supreme without attachment to the fruits, performing my swadharma. This is describing paradharma. Ooh, what's the distinction? Paradharma is, para means transcendental or spiritual, like atma and paramatma. You've heard those two terms. Atma is who we are, and Krishna is paramatma. Param is supreme atma. So paradharma is I'm making my connection with the Supreme Person. That's it. A subset or subsidiary, an incidental, a part of that offering everything to Krishna is that my existence is for Krishna. That's my paradharma. And I just live in that zone or that realm. I just live for Krishna. I accept things favorable and reject things unfavorable because that's a limb of surrender. And Krishna's teaching, and the last final concluding teaching of Bhagavad Gita is Mam ekam sharanam. Mam ekam sharanam. That's devotional service. I still do stuff. I go to school. I take my exams. I go to my workplace. I do my work. I am here at home with my family, and we're brahmacharis living in the ashram, and we have a very simple lifestyle. But that's not who we are either. Those are the upadis parts. So we direct those things. We don't identify with them, but we direct all those activities to Krishna because we're Krishna's. If you were a bird, you could just fly in here and nobody even would know the difference. There's somebody else out by the door? Come on in. Whoever's out hiding outside the door, come on in. We got your number. Ah. Hey. Blast from the past. Okay. Okay, so what we're discussing is the distinction between karma yoga and bhakti yoga, and I'm teaching a few slokas, and I'm trying to engage the younger generation people because if they're not engaged, they get really bored, and so hopefully you feel engaged. Good. Bhakti means we don't trash the other stuff, the other teachings, the other forms of dharma. But Dharma doesn't get set to the side. We live according to our Prabhupada's way of translating that is prescribed duties. Literally, sva means one's own, and dharma means duty. Sva dharma. And sva dharma is determined by, you can say, your upadi, your psychophysical nature. Psycho, the subtle body. Physical, the gross body. So each of us, there's different, everyone's different, has a physical body and a mind, intelligence, and ego. It's the package. And so that determines our psychophysical nature, and the psychophysical nature is going to determine our swadharma. So we do our swadharma. But that's not who we are. And that's not the essence of Bhagavad Gita either. The essence of Bhagavad Gita is that's subsidiary to one thing. dedication of everything to the personality of Godhead. Now, how do you get there? That's nice. So we're setting our GPS. The destination is Uttam Bhakti. And Uttam Bhakti says, here's what it isn't, and here's what it is. And the destination is Uttam Bhakti. Now, most of us are not at the stage of Uttama Bhakti. I mean, maybe there's somebody here that is, but probably not many of us are there. So what do you do when you're not there? You have to, so it's good to know the destination, and then it's good also to know how to get there. We had this really bossy lady who was telling us how to get here. So I turned the volume down. Her tone was really bossy. But we got here because we knew what the destination, and it's a good GPS system. So I'm going to go to Canto 3, Chapter 25 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm going to refer you where this train is going before you get on board. Here's where the train is going. It's going to Sadhu Sangha. I'm looking at our 3 girls over here, or 4 or 5. Sadhu. Raise your hand. Who knows the meaning of sadhu? Sadhu. You 5, 6 girls. What's the meaning? S-A-D-H-U, sadhu. When you hear the word sadhu, what do you think of? A guy with a big beard, and that's what you think of, a sadhu? No. What do you think of? You don't know. Sadhu means devotee. One very simple, sadhu means one who's attached to sat. One who's attached to sat is sadhu. That's a devotee, because they know the sat is the ultimate issue is a person. The ultimate issue, the sadhu, is a person. The absolute is a person. So one who's attached to the Supreme Person, that's a sadhu. And they may not have a long beard and big hair and all that stuff. But someone who is a nice, dedicated to Sat, dedicated to Krishna. And Sangha means association, gathering. All right? Sadhu Sangha means what we're doing right now. This is Sadhu Sangha. I mean, there's different gradations of attachment to Absolute, attachment to Krishna. But going in those who in their hearts hold that value and wish to go there, they got their GPS set, Uttam Bhakti, and I want to go there. So that person is also a devotee or sadhu. There are degrees. There's top Uttama form. But supposing you're not at the Uttama, you're not at the topmost. Tama means darkness, and Ut means above. So if you're not an Uttama devotee, you're a devotee. So this is Sadhu Sangha. There's 8 verses in chapter 25. Those of you that like to take notes, please take note of this. There's Sadhu Sangastika. This is 8, Ashta, it means 8. 8 verses in chapter 25 where Kapila Dev is laying out what are the elements of sadhu, the importance of sadhu, how to identify what a sadhu is. There's characteristics of one who's attached to Krishna, a sadhu. Titikshava, Krunika, etc. So there's characteristics, and then what happens when you have sadhu sangha? What's the outcome? What's on the other end? What's it look like? And that's this Uttam Bhakti. And sadhu Sangha is how to get there. So we'll go back to the beginning of chapter 25. In the beginning of chapter 25, we find Devahuti is there with his mother, with her son, Kapila. Kapila is the teacher. You've heard that name, Kapila? No? Okay. Hang around me, you'll find all kinds of things. Yeah, I love Srimad Bhagavatam, so I'll let you know. Inside, I'm feeling some enthusiasm because I'm speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. So if I start to get a little animated, that's why. Kapila is one of the great 12 authorities in in all the history of mankind. Kapila is one of 12. How do we know what those 12 are? We learned that from the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm looking at you 6, or no, actually there's 7. There's a girl over there in the corners. I'm speaking for you younger generation devotees. So, Kapila is one of the 12 great authorities. The 12 great authorities are named by Yamaraj. Everyone knows Yamaraj. He's the Lord of Death. Yama Raj, the king of death. Yamaraj. So he gives this list to his assistants. They're called Yamadutas. And he's one of the 12. So that's 2 out of 12. But Kapila is one of, I'm not going to go through all the list, but I'm just identifying he's one of the 12 great authorities. Bhishma Dev, grandfather Bhishma, he's one. Shukadev Goswami, he's one. I won't go through the whole list. Great Narada, the 4 Kumaras, you know who those people are. So Kapila is an incarnation. He is an avatar of Krishna. And he appears in this world early in creation. Right after Brahma builds the universe, he wants to fill up the universe. So he manifests Manu, one who gives laws for mankind, that's Manu. The first of the 14 Manus is Swayambhuva Manu and his wife Shatarupa. And they have 2 sons, 3 daughters. And one of those 3 daughters is the mother of Kapila. Her name is Devahuti. So we're going to chapter 25. Devahuti, the mother of an incarnation of the personality of Godhead. Just like when we observe Krishna Janmastami, we know who Krishna's mother is, right? Devaki, right? Vasudeva and Devaki. So just like Devaki is the mother of Krishna, Devahuti is the mother of Kapila. She's way up there. She's a very, very, very elevated personality. And she's characterizing herself as if she's not. She characterizes herself as a person who's too much attached. Just like the starting point, what is the verse that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita? You're entitled to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the results of your work. So she's characterizing herself as one who's attached. She's attached to a family, and because of that attachment or undue attachment, too much attachment, her mind is disturbed and bewildered. So she's asking her son, how did I get into this condition? And more important, how to get out of it? I'm drowning. How do I get out of this? What's the process to get to I put in my GPS that says Uttam Bhakti, pure devotional service? How do I get there? How do I become free from this bewildered state? And right away, he says, devotional service. And then he says the method to get to that devotional service where there's no sticky points is sadhu sangha. He says many other things, and then he gets to the sadhu sangha message. So I'm just going to read a few verses for those of you that like to take notes and want to look at these later. It starts with text 20 and it goes to text 27. That's 8 verses. So at least in Vaishnava circles, this is known as sadhu sangastika. So I'm going to take you through a little tour of sadhu sangastika, and then I'm going to end. It's going to be an abrupt ending. We're not there yet, but at least we're going to know how to get there by sadhu sangha, by doing what we're doing. Chanting, hearing transcendental messages, and gradually reaching our destination, at least knowing what the destination is and the means to get there. So chapter 25 of Canto 3, starting with text 20. Pasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu saeva sadhu shukrito. Girls, sadhu shukrito. Sadhu shukrit means to do. Sadhu shukrito. Moksha dwaram. Moksha dwaram means the dwaram, the gateway to moksha. This is how to get there. Moksha dwaram apavratam is opened. Translation: every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. That's this karma evadikaraste. Greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. So there's a way to get free from that entanglement. You give the fruits to Krishna, but better is devotional service. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, sadhu sangha, opens the door of liberation. That's the process to get to Uttam Bhakti. Text 21 describes the characteristics. Tatikshava karunika surhida sarvadehinam surit. You're friendly to all sarvadehinam, all embodied beings. Although they're not their bodies, you have a surit, you hold them dear to you. Ajatra shatrabhakshanta sadhava sadhu bhushanam. Bhushana means ornaments. These are the ornaments or characteristics, but attractive characteristics or ornaments of a sadhu. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. It's in Bhagavad Gita also, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. No, he doesn't hold others as his enemy. He may be the enemy of some people, but he doesn't hold others as they're my enemy. He is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. So I'm not going to go through all these 8. I'm just giving you a little encouragement to read them on your own, and then appreciate that that's the fruit that we wish to achieve by having sadhu sangha together on every Friday evening, and then coming to the temple on Sunday, whatever other sadhu sangha activities you may be engaged in the course of your day-to-day life. Text 22. Mayi ananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvanti ye dridham, staunch, dridha. Matkrite chaktvakarmanas. There's this matkrite sarvakarmanas, giving the results. Chaktva Sarva Svajana Bandhava. Such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections. Our young boy I was trying to encourage him to remember what surrender means. This is accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable. So on things unfavorable, you let them go. You don't call them a bad name. You just let them go. It's not. It doesn't hold the same importance for you that it may have held before, because it's not helping you on the path to bhakti, the path to uttam bhakti. So it just falls off. And things that may not have been there before start to become part of what you do with vigor and vitality, because it's the path to get to uttam bhakti. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections, such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world. Now, renouncing family relationships doesn't mean I become cold to my family members. It means, what does it mean? That's what it doesn't mean. It means I don't identify that that's me. That's this sarva upadi vinir muktam. I'm looking over here at the girls. Sarva upadi. You're checking out the verse, or you? Okay. So I'm referring back to just a little review on something we discussed. Sarva upadi. So my family members are upadis, just like I'm not a sannyasi and he's not a grahastha. I live as a sannyasi. I should act according to swadharma of a sannyasi and he as a grahastha. But that's not who I am. And so without undue attachment to family members, I serve with great care and concern, etc., etc., etc. We sacrifice for one another. That's part of a life of a Vaishnava. But it's not but those connections in and of themselves, that's not who I am. Now, what Devahuti was expressing, she's a pure person. She's the mother of an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. But she's expressing as if she's not, feeling undue disturbance in her mind. The specifics, she's been with a most qualified husband, the father of Kapila Dev, Kardama Muni. He's a mystic, and he's a great brahmana, and she left her princess life with Swayambhuva Manu by her choice to marry a brahmanist living in the forest, and she served him faithfully in Satya Yuga for some thousands of years. She became lean and thin, matted hair, emaciated, but she was happy inside because she was with a pure person, serving a pure person. And after some time, when Kapila Dev was born and of an age to look after his mother, he left with permission of Kapila Dev, with the acknowledgement of his wife. And that was part of Kardama Muni's agreement when Swayambhuva Manu came in the forest to say, my daughter wants to marry you. Would you accept her in marriage? He said, yes, on one condition. What's that? When I have a son that's old enough to maintain your daughter, my wife, then I'm going to turn the care of your daughter to my son. This is Vedic culture. The son is to be protected by father. The father then literally gives in gift the hand of daughter in marriage to some man to protect her, as the father protected her. And when the age, some of you young boys here, one day you're going to get older, and it's a duty for those who are sons to look after their parents, within reason. So he's gone. Karamuni's gone, and she's feeling a natural attachment. So now what's being taught here in this Sadhu Sangastaka is transfer those same feelings of attachment to the personality of Godhead. No, he happens to be the personality of Godhead, but that's the Sadhu Sangha, which is being laid out here. This we only got to verse 3 of 8, but it's describing the path or the means to get to Uttam Bhakti. So I'm not going to go through the other 5. Rather, I'm just going to encourage you in your own, not necessarily tonight or tomorrow or something, but in course of time, become familiar with these teachings, because it's what we're doing, and what we're doing by conducting this sadhu sangha activity is getting on that train ride that's going to take us to the destination. And we should conduct ourselves appropriately, respecting differences, although that's not who we are. We're not the upadis. We're not the coverings. You're not teenage girls, and he's not a young boy, and I'm not a sannyasi, and you're not Indian men and ladies. That's not who we are. We respect those differences and relate appropriately. Respect and relate appropriately according to what Scripture tells us or what culture indicates. Knowing that's not who we are and knowing what our goal is in doing all of these things, that's like the incubation chamber, is culture. And then the purpose of that culture is taking full shelter of Krishna. And we stay focused on what the purpose is, and we'll get there. You use the right means to get there, and that's the sadhu sangha. Then that sadhu sangha has many parts. I'm going to end with this. Lots of times, I travel a little bit, a lot. And when I travel a lot, I always get the how-to questions at the end of class. And my answer to how-to questions is sadhu sangha. Honest. And then I explain. Depends on the situation and the relationship with people. But I say, sadhu sangha is like a cotton ball. And cotton ball is just made of strands of fibers of cotton. And you can take the sadhu sangha cotton ball and pull out this one, and then there's that one, and then there's that one. You put them all back together again, and it's sadhu sangha. And then when it's time to do your puja, you take a little ghee, put a little ghee with that cotton ball, and turn it and turn it and turn it and turn it, and then you offer it to Krishna. But it's just sadhu sangha. There are elements that make up sadhu sangha, and it's good to know what they are. And it's good to keep good sadhu sangha. And say it negative. If one doesn't keep good sadhu sangha, you're vulnerable. You can easily be broken. Like Prabhupada would say, Aesop's fables. Here's a bundle of sticks, and you take one stick out, and you can easily break it. So keep good sadhu sangha. And qualitative, understand what the strands are, what the little elements are that make up sadhu sangha, and do it nicely as best you can. And try to keep doing it better and better, and keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's the method to get to Uttam Bhakti. Because Bhakti is Uttam. Bhakti is pure. We may not be pure, but Bhakti is pure. We associate with that which is pure, we become purified. And sadhu sangha is that method to get there. It's right within chapter 25 of Canto 3. It's a good chapter. Hint. So I think I'm going to stop, and particularly our gathered guest here at this, I guess, Bhakti Vriksha group. You have the floor first. I know very well that the devotees in the temple, these young men, they always have a million questions, which is nice, but I want to turn things over to you, and then their second. No, you're second. Within the room here of our members, anyone would like to discuss some points? Yes, behind you.
Considered a good example of sadhu sangha and obtaining uttam bhakti.
Oh yeah, he's like way up there. That's what he does. He travels here and travels there, and he finds people that need bhakti and he gives it to them. But he knows he is so good. He knows how to exactly customize how to give bhakti to people. He's really good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. My question is, nowadays a new generation, like my age or people younger than me, they find like bhakti is something when you grow old or something for the parents, not for us. So how do we, how do you answer that? I mean,
Depends. That's another pat answer I have when people ask. Supposing, so it depends. So you consider the person or the audience, and then you present according to the person or the audience. Some persons like me, some persons like Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you have somebody that really likes Srimad Bhagavatam, you can point to Prahlad Maharaj. Because his friends said the same thing to him. And what did Prahlad say? Komara acharat pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. This should happen at the Kamara stage of life. What's the Kamara stage of life? It's past the Bala stage of life. When at the tender age of childhood. So, the necessity of the person who's encouraging bhakti, the necessity is to make it meaningful, relevant, and relatable. So younger generation persons say it positively. If it's made relevant and relatable, it's fantastic. Supposing it's not relevant and relatable, they're on their phone doing other stuff besides paying attention to, it's irrelevant and unrelatable. So the presenter, the one who's giving, has to know how to make it relevant and relatable. But there are ways to make it relevant and relatable. The challenge is not age. The challenge is making it relevant and relatable.
thank you.
Let me just add to this. You can take the microphone. I'm just going to add to the answer. Of late, because many of you are younger generation people with children. So you're interested, as parents of children, to have your children receive. If you want them to receive, the best thing for you to do is to receive. Because you can't give that which you don't have. You can give that which you have. So you receive, but then you also have to be, in tune with your children and their personalities and their needs. So the first step is you receive, but I've had some discussions of late, 3 of them, with young devotees children born in devotee families that are finding a little disconnect, not because of age difference, but the manner and mode of their parents they can't really relate to. They don't disconnect with Krishna or Krishna consciousness. They don't have a strong connection with how it's being fostered amongst their youth. Therefore, they feel more affinity towards youth sanghas. In youth sanghas, these are, and I'm speaking of really good young devotees. They're just, confiding in confidence, but that, they don't mind me sharing this like this, that it's hard for them to relate to how their parents are expecting them to take bhakti. So, the next question is, okay, what's relevant and relatable? But, parents need to be tuned into what's relevant and relatable, just as you has to be relevant and relatable. Otherwise, it's going to bounce. It's like, nice, and I'll do this later. It doesn't happen like that. Patterns are set so that later something else is going on. So that's an added response to your question. Younger generation people. Some two things. Some adults are better at relating to younger generation people. So those are good persons to interact with younger generation people. And second is, younger generation people certainly relate better to younger generation people. So find those persons who are really gifted kind of leader types and are, they carry good character. They know the difference between, what is to be accepted and what is not to be accepted, and how to accept, etc. They have culture and some refinement and some leadership amongst the youth. They're good persons to help the youth. That's my observation, and added on to what your question was. Parenting's a big deal. Producing children is not so difficult. Training and passing on good character and good values and a lifetime of elevation in spiritual life, that's a much greater challenge in parenting. It's not an easy task. It's an important task. It's an essential task. Anything else? If there's silence, I'm going to go to the temple devotees because they'll keep us busy. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you talked about Paradharma Maharaj, but in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 35 also there is another Paradharma. What is the difference between the Paradharma you mentioned and the Paradharma in the verse?
What depends on the verse? What's the verse?
So chapter 3 verse 35.
Okay, let me read it. You can read it. Let me
It is Shreyan Swadharmo Vignaha Paradharmat Swanushtitat Swadharme Nidanam Shreyaha Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, that's swadharma, even though faultily, than another's duty perfectly. Then the next line is paradharmat. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in others' duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Now, the application of paradharma here is different than how I was using it. Did that answer your question? Here, it's your swadharma is going to lead you to paradharma. Now, there's not a guarantee. Supposing, for example, I'm a sannyasi, he's a grahastha. So when I live my life by the external formalities of rules and regulations and vidhis and things of what a sannyasi does, but I haven't yet, or the grahastha hasn't yet, you or any other grahastha hasn't yet connected with Krishna in the higher sense of making that Krishna connection. So in that case, swadharma isn't going to lead to paradharma. But it's essential to follow swadharma to get to paradharma. So that's used in a different application or different meaning. You follow? Should I say it again? Say it again. Okay. You're a grahastha. And so you have duties to your husband, to the house, to your children, to the community. You have, what you do with your finances. Just there's things that have implication, social implication for you as a spirit soul in this particular stage of your life. So that's your swadharma. And you do that nicely, and it isn't a guarantee, but if done nicely, it can lead you to paradharma. I mean, the essential element to lead to paradharma, in the sense that I'm using it, is association with one who's carrying bhakti, or association with sadhu. If you connect that with bhakti, then then your swadharma becomes paradharma. Swadharma becomes spiritualized. And the spiritualized is paradharma. But it's not a guarantee. Just do your duties religiously, do your duties. It doesn't lead to bhakti. Doing those things, but it's essential to lead. It's the higher sense of the higher purpose of your prescribed duties. So make the bhakti connection or the paradharma connection, and then it's complete. Then it is the paradharma in the sense that I'm using it. The paradharma in the sense that it's here that's the fulfillment of your duties on the physical plane or the temporal plane. Okay? Online question. Okay.
This question is by Sucharita Mataji. If one doesn't find inspiration in the current sadhu sangha, what should I do? It is perhaps due to my own weak sadhana.
Well, there's my answer to this kind of question is it depends. It depends on you, it depends on the sadhu sangha, depends on the circumstance. So there's not a fixed answer to a question like this. But the introspection is the right place to go first. Look within. And am I approaching this in the proper consciousness, in the proper mood, etc., etc.? That's the right place to go first. And if so, in response to what if my sadhana is not so strong, then find the method, ideally in sadhu sangha, but also sadhu sangha can mean from the writings of our previous acharyas. You can associate with our previous acharyas that give teachings about the importance, and you feel that importance, and your sadhana can improve. And then you may be more comfortable with the sadhu sangha group that you're in, or the bhakti vriksha group that you're in. But the first place to look is Bhakti Siddhanta's teaching. Look within first. There's another one.
2 questions by Srida Das, Prabhu. Why is it that the Vedic rituals or sacrifices initiated by the Lord himself, although performed for pleasing Krishna, still requires auspicious time and place, whereas chanting of Krishna's names and hearing does not have such regulations?
Well, the question is pretty clear. By the way, this devotee's in Singapore. So it's an online class. So the rituals that he's speaking about, the former of the two, it's in the swadharma, it's the time, place, circumstance, material field, and auspiciousness is recommended, not imperative, but it's going to be more effective if an auspicious time, place, and circumstances is selected. because it's all about creating favorable circumstances in one's consciousness and in one's karma so that the fruits will be best. And then the second is chanting. It's not regulated by time, place, circumstance. It's not of this world. It's of the spiritual world. I'm sure he knows. Maybe many of you will also know. Golokera, Premadana, Harinama, Sankirtana. You've heard that one? Golok, you know what Goloka is? Krishna's planet. Golokera, Prema Dana. It gives the dana of prema, the charity or the gift of prema. Harinama Sankirtana. So working backwards, Harinama Sankirtan is the giver of prema, prema dana, imported or descending directly from Goloka. And therefore it's not regulated by auspiciousness or inauspiciousness, time, place, circumstance. Second question.
Second question. Krishna says he is time himself in Gita. Could I kindly request to clarify what inauspicious time means?
It depends. You know, there's auspicious times and inauspicious times. So, for transcendental things, there's no inauspicious time, but for material, beneficial, upliftment things, there's auspicious times. Isaac, you want to speak into the microphone? Did you forget your question?
I just want to know why it is say that Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is even bigger than Krishna himself. Doesn't it?
You show me where it says that. I mean, Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. I'll say it again. Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So one can say Krishna submits himself to the love of Radharani, and that way you can say, I don't know if Prabhupada said that Radharani is bigger than Krishna, but she controls Krishna through her love. Her interest is not to control Krishna. Her interest is love. But the love of Radharani is so strong, so great, so wonderful, that Krishna is controlled by her love. In that sense, not bigger than, but, has a power to control Krishna. Bhakti Devi, or the love of Srimati Radharani. Anybody else? Are devotees here?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was wondering if you would explain what auspicious means, beyond just being good. I understand in a material sense things can be good, like it's good to sell popcorn at a baseball game because there's a lot of people, but in terms of spiritual...
and they like popcorn.
And they like popcorn.
Yeah,
and they're hungry.
Yeah.
But what does that mean, something to be good for spiritual?
That's a nice question. Thank you. The sense that I have is just a gut sense, not necessarily a scriptural sense. But auspicious means for an objective. So when you have an objective or a goal, there are, for example, like this question, auspicious times, places, and circumstances. Like let's take this, Ekadasi. So Ekadasi is an auspicious day. Now it can be auspicious for people that want some material benediction, and it can be auspicious for persons who want spiritual welfare. But nonetheless, it's an auspicious day. It's favorable for the execution of spiritual activities. No, that's another question. What makes it auspicious? But it's in simple terms. It's an investment from the personality of Godhead that this day is favorable or auspicious. Now, for Ekadasi, there are karma kanda observances of Ekadasi. You know what that means? Karma kanda means rituals or practices that if you want this, that, or the other thing, this Ekadasi observed in this way gives this material result. Another Ekadasi observed in a different way, you will receive another desirable result. Karma kanda is you do things to get things. Vast parts of the Vedas are like that. You do something to get something. So it's an auspicious day to get something. You do it in a proper way, an auspicious way, an auspicious day, and you're going to get an auspicious result. It's an alignment of auspiciousness. Then for spiritual purposes, that's you and me, we wish to grow bhakti. So it's an auspicious day for growing bhakti. It's on a higher level of auspiciousness. And so for us, the simple thing is increasing the spiritual activities qualitatively or quantitatively or both, and decreasing the involvement in matter that's not essential. Decreasing the material, increasing the spiritual, to access the auspiciousness, the fullness of auspiciousness that Ekadasi can represent. So it's the meaning is that which is favorable or beneficial or likely to bring about something that is desired. So there's material and spiritual desire. Favorableness is the meaning of auspiciousness.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we're done. Are we done? We're done. Okay. Did you bring Mahaprasadam? Before coming here to Atlanta, I was at the Potomac Temple, and the Potomac Temple supplied me some Mahaprasadam so that I could distribute Mahaprasadam. And I hope I have enough to go around. And if I don't, you have to share a piece with somebody. And I don't think there's...
Mahaprabhu is the host, and Nitya from New Jersey.
Ah, Hare Krishna. How long have you been here in Atlanta? 2 months. We just see how Krishna's clever and sense of humor. And this little king that was sitting here on the couch, that's your son? He's somebody else, neighbor. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki